Good morning. I say good morning. Good afternoon, sis. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hello, Bami. Good afternoon. This story I want to share today. Please go and call a friend that call a friend that call a friend. This is actually my field. Please don't mind though. I've got echo where I am. I'm not at home, so my day is fine. I'm in a different. I'm away from home. My day is fine. My day is fine. And your day? How is everyone? How is everybody doing? How has your day been? How is everyone doing? How is everybody? Hello, hello, hello. Unique Pearl, how are you? How are you doing? Please go and get your chair and your table. Go and grab your coffee and your tea and come and learn. This is one of the reasons why I set up my. That's why I set up my channel. Because there is a lot of lesson. You see, us Africans, we don't learn our lessons. You know, there are things that we do. You can easily see. My people say, they say if an adult sit on a chair, what an adult sees while sitting on a chair, if a child climbs a mountain or climbs the tallest hill, you no go see am. I saw this story. I saw people busy. We have a new prime minister. Hopefully that new prime minister go last. Hopefully, because people like say the guy don dey miss yan already. Na here we go dey, we go watch cinema. Last they go first election. Na here we go dey watch their cinema. Hello Rosie, how are you sis? My people. Rosie, enyara ya. I get now the case come me to today. What God cannot do does not exist, pastor. Hey, they don't sue am for America. What God cannot do does not exist, pastor. You see this pastor wey dey look so? This pastor wey wear glasses. What God cannot do does not exist, pastor. Na e be. No, Kemi can't be the prime minister now. Kemi is the Conservative Party leader. She can't be the prime minister. It's Labour. Labour is still the one in power. Well, how they won't carry number 10 go Manchester with the looker? Anyway, anyhow, we shall don't get new prime minister. The guy. I just look the guy. If let's say the guy no understand the things of the spirits. But now here all of us go dey. Now here we go dey look at the guy don dey miss yan already. He don enter. He don dey put in gear for reverse. Now here when the UK you don't say we sabi for straight person. Anyway, let us please. I don't want to. He last fire. Now here we dey. He last fire. Now here we go dey. We go see whether he go last. I just look the guy. I listen to his speech. I say, hey, this guy. Now here we go dey. Osas, how are you, Jare? Now here we go kuku dey. We go dey watch the guy, because that guy, all those nonsense wey he dey talk. He want to bring. He wants to operate from number 10 from Manchester. You know when they say you start on with the left feet. Now the case way. Now the matter we still dey settle. I just dey look am, I dey look the side of him body wey yamaje. Na here we go dey, we go look am. You no know say people for care anyway. Keir Starmer, that you know say when the guy wan comot, you know say as the guy dey see, when you dey opposition party, your mouth go dey do kporo, you go do kpara. Na when you enter finish, shebi the one wey be say everybody, the guy sef suppose fear, because on a good day, when labour dey say make dey vote, nobody gree vote, nobody, the level of voting, the kind of competition they had for labour leadership, you know, is actually the lowest for years or for century. So you can imagine. But the guy think say he don win jackpot. Na here we go dey. Na here we go kuku dey. When I hear the thing wey the guy dey talk, I say okay, no be bad damwa, because all those grammar wey he dey speak, how the thing go take translate in a civil service environment, now I no know. But anyway, that is his problem. I no be politician. Na him sign work of politician. After all, soldier go cause soldier come money. If you no fit do, they go bring van, just like they bring van park Keir Starmer property. The van go appear again, they go park in own comot. That one na small thing. My people, let us come back to the show wey we wan do today. Like I said, the pastor you are looking at, is the name of the pastor is Pastor Godswill Pender. Na him be him name. Olanike, good morning. How do I keep giving everybody good morning? Sorry, it's been an hectic day today. Good afternoon. How are you? Good evening rather. This pastor wey you dey look so, ẹ̀yin ará America, I sure say una sabi una pastor. The pastor na one of Gerieze recruits. Abi na Gerieze ally. The pastor's name is Pastor Godswill Pender, and his wife na Caribbean wife. Na him wife na dey next to am. So what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. Then this auntie wey you see, wey she wear golden gown so, the auntie name na Timipre Wolo. Na him be her name. I no even know say the auntie sef, she go university for my backyard for Aberdeen. So when I read the case now, I say, now it's beginning to make sense. This particular show, please carry your pen and paper. If you are thinking of adopting, those of una wey dey look, wey dey abroad, wey dey are diaspora, if you are thinking of adopting, particularly if you live in the United States right now, because all those people wey dey do advert for una, we can do surrogacy, we can do adoption, we can do this, we can do that. They no dey tell you say immigration law e get level wey e dey. They no dey tell you say there is jurisdiction in legality, in legal cases. You when you come from, you wan do adoption, you are so excited about the child you want to go and adopt. You are not crossing your T's and dotting your I's. Your eyes dotty ojú. And also, those of us, it is another thing that is common. The one thing that stood out in this case, you see that informal child care arrangement, informal guardianship arrangement. You see when I do all this video where they say legal guardianship, power of attorney, all of these things, there's a reason why I'm doing it, and I'm glad this case highlights it all. You know, it actually gives me a reason. It gives good reason. Now, this man and his wife is a Caribbean woman. The man, Pastor Godswill Pender, is actually a Nigerian man who is based in America. So himself and his wife, I want to give you a summary of the case before I go into the nitty-gritty of it. Himself and his wife, the two of them, I don't know whether they don't have kids. That's the truth. I don't know, and I'm not going to say what I don't know. because that information is not there in public domain. So me, I cannot say what I don't know. The summary of it, I go give una the summary. So this man, Dr. Pender, Auntie Timipre Wolo, is suam from Nigeria, is suam for America. Sorry, from Nigeria, the woman suam. Oh, thank you. From America, from Nigeria, the woman suam. Are you wondering why he suam? I go explain. No worry. Carry your share. This one no be explain. No, we go explain and go shalaye. Hey, Fumida Ramola, how are you? So, Pastor Godswill, God's time, sorry, he's also known as Godswill. Pastor Godswill Pender, himself and his wife, they adopted a child from an orphanage home. That child, to the best of their knowledge, the pikin no get mama, he no get papa, and that one on his own, he raises question. Okay, he raises legal question. Maybe American system allows, maybe Nigerian system allows that, but in the American system, in the UK system, every child has a parent. So before you do adoption, before you go and do adoption, if you are in the United Kingdom, if you want to go and do adoption in Nigeria, and they won't give you pikin wey come from, wey dey orphanage home, you need what they call, that child needs to go through what they call permanent resident order. Okay? Permanent resident order. What does that mean? Permanent, good evening, Adunia, how are you? Permanent residency order means permanent order. So there's two types. I will explain that in another show, but I just want to tell you why I'm asking you to do it. The permanence order allows you permanence order with adoption, because obviously if you're looking to adopt a child, you need to do permanence order with adoption. Now, what does permanence order with adoption mean? It allows you to apply. It's not you. It has to be maybe Department of Women Affairs, whatever it is that do it in Nigeria. So they have to apply alongside parents. And parents will legally have to give up their parental rights and responsibility. Now, you cannot just go and apply for that for no reason. You must, the court, when you are applying, you must evidence that parents, beyond all reasonable doubts, they are not fit to care for their child. So you see all of una where they go get orphanage home for Nigeria, all of una where they go set up orphanage home, where they go set up motherless baby units. I hope you are ticking your paper. I hope you tick your paperwork, because every child under your care, you must clarify why is it that their parents do not have parental rights and responsibility, and those children end up in your care. If anybody won't carry those children come abroad, legal technicality, he go hook them for neck. And that's one of the reasons why the UK government stopped adoption and surrogacy and all form of birth outside Nigeria, all form of assisted reproductive process. Thank you. That's why the UK government stopped all form of assisted reproductive birth process from Nigeria, because what they were picking up very quickly is most of the children that were being brought, even the surrogacy. I've seen people advertise surrogacy. That one is a different, in short, that surrogacy is a very dark market. What you see is not what it is. I can tell you that from the scene. I can tell you that. I walk behind the scene and I can tell you, surrogacy, what they're advertising is far away from the reality of what is going on. That's a very dark market. When I say black market, as in proper, there's a lot of human trafficking going on. and it's just crazy. It's crazy. When they talk about surrogacy, they are literally talking about baby factory. That's what they are talking about when they are referring to it in Nigeria. Okay, and I'm glad. And in short, I want to come and do a show on that lady, the lady that granted the interview to Car Truth. I will come back and talk about it, but let me focus on what I'm talking about here. So, like I said, if you have a motherless baby home, those of una wey dey come from abroad say una wan go adopt pikin for motherless baby home, you want to go and adopt a child from orphanage homes, you better come closer now and come and learn. This case is live. The information about this case is right there in public domain, and that's why you see I'm bold enough to put their faces. Not because I'm not here. I know social media does not judge case, but like my show is an educative setting where I want people to learn. Okay, now I do not have a legal background, but obviously professionally, the kind of job I do as a social worker, and I work in children and family, I can give guidance, but I do not give legal advice. Okay, so please put it down there. While I'm talking, okay, no, let me do that one later. So as I was saying, so this couple, Pender, Mr. and Mrs. Pender, Pastor and Pastor Mrs. You know, say Nigeria with the like title, Pastor and Pastor Mrs. Pender. Okay, the Pastor Pender is the one with glasses. Mrs. Pender is the one that wear black clothes. Okay. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Pender, they collected a child, or they adopted a child in Nigeria from motherless baby home. I saw the video yesterday. Adeola Fayehun was talking about it. Okay, I've read about it, but I was when I saw Adeola Fayehun talk about it, I was like, okay. Anyway, but leave it there. So this they adopted a child from Nigeria. Now they perfected their paperwork and everything from Nigeria. Now, so while they have finished all their paperwork, the ideal thing is that they are meant to bring the child to America where they live. Okay, they are meant to bring the child to America where they live. However, the president of America, it was during the COVID time, so they stopped all immigration. And since then we know that immigration has been startled. Okay, so from the legal paperwork, Pender, Miss Pastor and Pastor Mrs. I don't know whether the wife is pastor, but Pastor Pender and the wife, they gave their little child. I don't have to reveal the identity of the child if it's there. I don't want to use my show because it's against the law to do that. Now, but if you want to read about the case, it's online. You can read the court documents, is all online. Now, Pastor and Mrs. Pender handed over their baby to Timipre Wolo. I hope I'm pronouncing the name properly. Sorry if I'm not. They handed over their baby to Timipre Wolo to care for the baby. Now, on the court document, they didn't hand over that baby legally. So they had an informal. Yeah, I know Adeola released the name. I understand. But legally, that's not meant to be. The name of an adopted child is meant to be protected. So I'm a social worker. I would be going against the law and against my professional ethics and practice to reveal the name of the child. Now, so Timipre, what is the name? Pastor Pender. Hello, I'm greeting everybody as you are greeting me. Pastor Pender handed over the adopted child to his friend. Apparently, Timipre Wolo is his friend. So the child that they adopted the adoption was done in Abia State. Okay? And then they handed over the child to Timipre Wolo. Now, when the child was handed over to Timipre Wolo, from all the court documents, okay, who is this one now? Anyway, so from all the court documents, there is no legal handing over of the child. Instead, it seems that the child was handed over to Timipre Wolo in an informal way, and I will tell you why I'm highlighting that. So just like any other thing, abeg help me look after my pikin, I dey go abroad. Abeg help me, just ignore. Abeg help me look after my pikin, I dey go abroad. My friend, let my child stay with you. I'm traveling. There's no legality to it. And we Africans, if we want to lie to ourselves, this is not uncommon for us to do. Where we place our children informally with either friends or families without any legal documentation. Now you wondering, wetin come be the big deal? Hello, that is where this case gets interesting. Of course, Timipre Wolo collected the baby and cared, nurtured, adjusted her life around that child. Again, there is nothing in the legal document that tells us whether Pender and the wife, Pastor Pender and the wife, there is nothing in all legal documents, because they've been going back and forward since 2024. There is nothing in that legal document that tells us that they were financially responsible for the care of their child while that child is in the care of Timipre Wolo. There was nothing to tell us that. And not on, even though the child is still with Timipre Wolo till date, but there is nothing in the legal documents that stipulates that Timipre Wolo and the wife, Pastor Pender and the wife are financially responsible. There is also nothing telling us that they are emotionally present for that child. And also, how physically present are they for that child? There is nothing telling us that. In all the legal documentation, there is nothing. However, Timipre Wolo, remember, she's taking the role of a primary caregiver, whereby the day-to-day care of that child, of the child in question, Timipre Wolo has been responding to that care. Interestingly, Timipre Wolo claims to be a lawyer. Of course, I'm guessing she has done her paperwork. She's done her homework. So she's been responsible for the adopted child of Pender, of Pastor Pender's adopted child. And so at a point, obviously, once immigration relaxed and everything was fine, I guess there have been hello Carol, how are you? So I guess once everything was relaxed, they then wanted to come and collect their child from the care of Timipre Wolo. And then Timipre filed a custody order against Pastor Pender. Now, what's a custody order? She filed a custody order, obviously wanting to have the child in her care. Remember, she has been the one caring for the child from the moment that child was adopted till date. That child is still in her care. Gem, I don't know. I honestly do not know. Even if a child is their biological child, see, what these people did is not uncommon. It's not about whether a child is biological or not. It's not uncommon. This is a common thing we do in our community. Now, everything is lovely until something happens. Okay? It is not uncommon that you will have relatives drop their children for family or friends to help care for them. Exactly. Diaspora diva. Now you are, hello sis, how are you? Now you are clocking what I'm saying. Now, from the adoption paper, from the we don't have, of course adoption paper is private, but I don't know if it's private in the Nigerian context, because I was quite surprised that the name of that child was listed in the court document in Nigeria. In United Kingdom here, all the for public, when they are putting information like that in public, the name of that child is withheld. The name of the adopted child is withheld. Okay, so I'm just wondering, because when they did the adoption, like over here in the UK for instance, before a child gets adopted, in short, adoption is like an extreme angle, because adoption means the biological parent of that child loses their parental right and responsibility, and for that process to be triggered, okay, for that process to be triggered, the biological parents will lose their parental right and responsibility. And what does that mean? So while they are looking to adopt and all whatnot, these adopted parents, they would have had what we call transition. So that child will get to know them. Maybe the child will be seeing them often. There is a way. They don't just remove a child and place the child straight away like that. It doesn't work like that. There is a period, because you also need assessment to inform why that child is going to be adopted. Why is that child going to be adopted? What is it why is adoption the only option? Have you explored kinship care? Remember, okay, this child, like for instance, the Pastor Pender, they said the child was wandering on the street in Aba. Okay, the child was wandering in the street in Aba. There is no child on the surface of this earth that does not have family. Okay, so who is the parent of this particular child? Because that's something nobody is looking at. Who is the parent of this particular child? Where are the extended family? Before putting the child in orphanage home, because I know for a fact there are orphanage home in Nigeria, orphanage and homeless children services in Nigeria. I know they are not regulated. I know that for a fact. I have been on different investigations. I have done different cross-country investigation or cross-border investigation, as we call it, and I know for a fact that it's not regulated. Okay, and that's why baby factory and child trafficking is so easy, because it's not regulated. As a matter of fact, what is it called? Children home. All these homeless baby units, I mean, what they call them for Nigeria. All these homeless home and an orphanage, they are registered as business. Now CAC they register. CAC registers everything. You can now put category, but it is registered as a business. In United Kingdom, they no born you where to register them as a business. So anyway, as I was talking, so the child in question, the child was wandering around in Abia. Apparently, I want to believe Abia State is a very big state. I know that is a big area. Okay, so a child cannot just be wandering. The mama and papa wey carry wa born the pikin, where they dey? The family of that child, where are they? Extended family, where are they? Obviously that child will have mother side and father side. Okay, then when they do the adoption, the question is, what is the health history of that child? And I know that this is where a lot of complexity comes in the Nigerian system, when people say they go and adopt. I've done cases, like I said, I've done some cross-border cases where people will say they adopt. When you then, so when we, because obviously it's one thing for you to say you adopt from whatever country you're adopting from, but even if you adopt, that law, that child, the adoption of that child, because that child has two birth certificates, the birth certificate and the adoption certificate, because the day that child is adopted is a significant date in the life of that child. So that adoption certificate, how did you, at what, okay, adoption certificate, when you get it, what do you do with it? The process of adoption, was there full health assessment done? And I can tell you, in the Nigerian system, except they change today, in the Nigerian system, the adoption system, and that's not uncommon. In most African countries, that's not uncommon. They don't do full health assessment. Like the way we do checks here, they don't do it in Nigeria. In most African countries. That one, I know that on the back of my hand. I know that. So they don't do full health medical checks, and that medical checks is very key, because the mother and the father, the biological mother and father, their medical screening, their medical health, and their full medical assessment is needed to progress the medical health assessment of the child that will be adopted. Because in the parents' medical full health assessment, there are things that we look at. There are things that maybe at this time is okay, but in future, are there something to do with their gene? Is there something? Is there a particular, for instance, simple things like, as a girl child, maybe it's a girl child that has been adopted. What is their, what age did they approach puberty? How did they respond to trauma? So there's quite a lot. It's not just as simple as physical health. There's quite a lot. Is there a particular kind of illness that is known in the family? Is there a particular kind of disease that is known to the family, that has been occurrent in the family? So that's why over here in the UK, even when a child is adopted, the birth parents, there are a lot of things that we do with the birth parents, and that's why social work, they call it, some people call it the fostering department, adoption, family placement, whatever name you call it in your local authority. One of the things is the department that deals with adoption will always open a channel of conversation with the birth parents, because if something happens, or maybe there's a major medical whatever that needs to happen or whatever, and of course they have to contact the biological parents. So it could be the stuff with their gene, it could be, there could be anything. Okay? And that's why they always say that although adoption goes through, but the birth parents are never kept. Of course, there's a limit to what we can tell them once adoption has gone through. But the birth parents, is important to keep open communication with them. So that's why you see that when they do adoption over here in the UK, they would ask, there will always be a form of contact. It could be letterbox contact, it could be maybe once in a year visit, it depends. Each case is case by case. Okay, it's case by case. Hello Jem, how are you? It's case by case. So most times birth parents will agree to letterbox contact. Sometimes birth parents will not even want to be involved. But there are also times that we have had to reach out to birth parents. Okay? And of course, say the child by law, the birth parents have to be notified. Yes, the child, they've lost the parental right and responsibility, but that child is their biological child. Okay? So by law, the birth parents will be informed. Now, although the birth parents will be informed if the child dies, but there is no law that says the birth parents should attend the funeral of that child. And there's no law that says the birth parents cannot even get involved in the funeral planning if anything happens to that child, because that child is already adopted. But by law, of course, the birth parents also need closure to know what has happened to their child. Okay, so that's that. And there's no, and the adopted parents are not obliged to share details of pie with the birth parents. It's just an information. It's simply an information, because the birth parents do not have parental right and responsibility anymore. Okay, anyway, so in the case of this Timipre and and Pastor Pender, they left their child with Timipre. Timipre, obviously, I'm greeting you all as you are greeting me. Sorry, I just don't want to lose my line of thought. Sorry about that. I'm not ignoring you all. I'm greeting everybody as you're greeting me. So the Pastor Pender and his wife left their adopted child with Timipre. Now Timipre obviously has been caring for that child. Remember, caring for a child is not just about providing food, water, and clothes. There is emotional angle of it. There is the mental angle of it. And I was reading the court proceeding, and I was asking myself, where is the role of Pastor Timipre and Pastor Pender and the wife here? Because yes, they won the case, they won some part of it, but what this lady is asking for, Timipre, okay, thank you. What the lady is asking for, what Timipre is asking for, right? She's asking for custody of the child. Now, legally, is she allowed to ask for the custody of that child? My answer will be yes. Why is my answer yes? That is a child that has been in her care. That child has been in her care. Now, there is nothing showing us, there's no record showing us, from all the legal paperwork that they have put out, there's no record showing us that this parent, that the adopted parents, quote and unquote, have spent time, quality time with that child. Of course, it can be contested in court. Don't get me wrong. Trust me, they can contest it in court, and I think that's definitely what they are doing. Okay, so let me just give you like a summary of the background, and then we go into the main this thing. So the summary of the case is the dispute centers on a young adopted child who had been legally adopted by a Nigerian American adoptive parent. That's Godswill Pender. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the child was reportedly left in Nigeria in a temporary care of Timipre Wolo. There is nothing to tell us they had a legal documentation to that. It seemed to be very, very informal. Yeah, honey babe, that's what I'm saying. How are you, sis? That's what I'm saying. Just hold on for me. Let me wrap up. What appears to have started as a temporary caregiving arrangement later developed into a lengthy legal dispute over custody and adoption rights. According to public court record, the litigation involved questions about which court has jurisdiction and the effect of existing adoption order issued by a court in Abia. Then Federal Capital Territory court decision. I just kind of summarized it. A judgment published by the Federal Capital Territory High Court shows that the judge concluded that FCT High Court did not have jurisdiction to review or set aside the adoption order made by Abia State Family Court. So remember, in Nigeria, we operate a federal system. So maybe the legal application, the family law legal application in Abia might totally be different from what happens in Imo states. Okay? Because we operate a federal system. Just like America, where you operate a federal system. So what is applicable in Texas might not be applicable in Houston. Okay? So, and just like United Kingdom, in United Kingdom we have devolved states. We have devolved powers. So like in Scotland our laws are very, very different and distinct from the rest of the UK, but there's a reason for that. Okay, so a judgment published by the Federal Capital Territory High Court shows that the judge concluded that the Federal Capital Territory High Court did not have jurisdiction to review or set aside the adoption order made by the Abia State Family Court, rather than deciding the merits of the adoption dispute. The court held that any challenge should be pursued in appropriate jurisdiction. So they need to go back to Abia to go and do it. The suit struck out, and the judgment stated that the custody should be transferred to Abia State. Remember, okay, to Abia State government through the respective social welfare officers pending review of adoption. So even the adoption itself, there's question mark around it. Okay, because Abuja cannot rectify or respond. So the fact that adoption was granted in Abia does not mean that it is tenable in Lagos. Okay, so I hope you guys are learning, because this is, like I said when I started the show, these are the complexity we found with the Nigerian system. Okay, these are the complexity we found in the Nigerian system and most African countries, and that's how you see that adoption, when you are adopting from African country, there is very, very tricky, because if you put it side by side with the UK system, I don't know, yeah, the American system there's quite some time, but if you put it side by side with the UK system, most adoption very quickly turns to child trafficking, because most adopted parents are not able to evidence that they've lived with the child. And of course, they wouldn't have been able to live with the child, because you need to have lived with that child for maximum 1 year. Minimum of 1 year. So if you live in the UK and you adopted a child in Nigeria, where is the time that you spend? How did you spend the 1 year with that child? You need to evidence. It's not just a case of I did it. You need to be able to evidence that you did it. Anyway, later development, subsequent media report and statement from a child rights advocacy group alleged that the adoptive parents maintained that they were the child's lawful adoptive parents. That is not disputed. But did they spend time with that child? That's where the best interest of the child comes to play, and that's where the twist to this case is. The dispute continued through the court. A court of appeal decision reportedly affirmed the adoptive parents' custodial right and concern were later raised publicly about whether the child has been reunited with the adoptive parents after the litigation. This report contains allegation and advocacy position that has been reported publicly, but are not by themselves judicial finding. Okay, so, and this is where I hope you all understand. So the show I'm doing today, the focus of my discussion is on high-profile adoption and court custody disputes involving Timipre, Wolo, and Godswill, Godstime, Pender. Sometimes they call him Godstime, sometimes they call him Godswill. Even the court document, they had his name. Some call him Godswill, some call him Godstime. Again, if they were to adopt, if they were bringing those paperwork here in the UK, that would raise a lot of questions. What is his real name? Okay, that's the adopted father. What is his real name? Because some court document has him as Godswill, some court document has him as Godstime. So that means there are two identities. That's just the long and short of the story. According to publicly available court record, the case began after a child had been reportedly been legally adopted by a Nigerian American parent who left in Nigeria during the COVID-19 pandemic under the temporary care of Timipre Wolo. Now, they left the child temporarily with Timipre Wolo. But like I said, there is nowhere, because I've been looking through all the court document, I've read it back to back. There is nothing in the court document that states that there was a legal arrangement. Instead, it looks like it was all informal arrangements. And you can see why Timipre, it's very easy for her to file a lawsuit and question, because by right, if that child chooses to identify with Timipre over her adoptive parent, so be it. We have to look at what is in the best interest of the child. The arraignment letter became the subject of years of litigation over custody and adoption. Different court proceedings have addressed issues including jurisdiction and the effect of existing adoption order. Because aspects of the matter have been contested publicly and through the court, today's discussion is not about deciding who is right or wrong. Instead, we want to learn. Make we learn. Instead, we want to explore what this case teaches us about adoption law, child's welfare, court jurisdiction, and why the best interest of a child should remain at the center of every decision. And I'm sure, over here in United Kingdom, you will hear the best interest. We want to discuss the best interest of a child. I've done short video telling you what best interest means. Now, let's all of us start one by one. We go pick them. Let us explore why formal legal procedure matters in adoption. No go do under the mango tree adoption. Even these parents, these so-called adoptive parents, if this case was a UK case, I can tell you straight on, those parents, the adoption paperwork, there's questions around it. Honey B, I don't think it's about former friend. See, Honey Babe, I'm sure you should know better. The reality is they had an informal arrangement. When you have informal arrangements, that can be contested. Informal arrangement is not evidence in the court of law. So the question is, what did they agree with? What did they agree with Timipre? What did they agree with her? And then there is nothing to show us that they were financially responsible for the child that is in the care of Timipre. There is nothing to show us that. There is nothing to show us any legal arrangement. Okay, she's going to help you care for the child. For what is the length of time? All of these things are not legally documented. Inimi love, please stop being emotional here. Stop being emotional. She should release the child and stop being mean. How is she being mean? Social media is not the court of law. Social media is not the court of law, and that's why I'm doing this so that we can learn. We can throw emotions all over the place. Hello? When they too wanted to adopt, did they not think of possible immigration concerns? Did they not think of changes in immigration rules? As a matter of fact, I can tell you, I don't even think they will even be able to bring that child to America yet. That child is nowhere, he's not coming to America soon. Because American system, they are not even allowing anyone filing for anybody, not even spouses. I don't think so, because I've read the court document. Court documents, they are all online. I have read it back to back. There is no way that they talk about financial care. But she is in contempt of court by not handing over the child to Abia State government. She's not handing over the child to Abia State government. But let's also be honest. She also has a right to fight what she's fighting. We are not court of law. Whether the court, I don't know. It's up to the court to decide what works. But that child, don't forget, in the best interest of the child, that child, Timipre is the parent that child knows. And she can actually fight, she can actually legally contest everything that Abia State and the so-called adopted parents are saying. Why can she do that? Because she has been the parents of this child. You understand? She has been the parent to this child. So when you look at it, when you look at relationship in the best interest of the child, when you look at relationship, she has the most stable relationship with this child. Inimi, you said, I understand we're here to learn. Let's consider the fact that the family never emphasized the delay in immigration process. I'm not being emotional. Now, Inimi, I understand where you're coming from. But when they were doing a cross-border adoption, you can't do cross-border adoption and not pay attention to immigration changes. Okay? So the question that now stands from the angle that you are coming from, Inimi, the question that now stands is, when they were doing the adoption in Africa, was social service in America, in wherever they were in America, is social service aware that they are also wanting to adopt a child from Africa? If social service is aware, how is it recorded? Did they follow? Was there a process that was followed? What are the legal proceedings to doing that? We sure that the child is okay. They must compare her to present the child to the court, the next court setting. I don't know if they can compare her, let's be honest. That's a minor. I don't know if they can compare her. You see, I think because the word adoption, exactly, now you get the point I'm coming from. See, you see, that's why I said, when I started the show, I said, you see, when people are going to go and do adoption, surrogacy and all whatnot, people don't look at cross-border laws, you know. An emotion does not work in the court of law. People don't look at cross-border law. When you want to do a cross-border adoption, cross-border law is, in short, you are fully dependent on cross-border law. All of these things were avoidable, in my own opinion. I don't want to believe that they put the paperwork through the American, through the state or wherever it is that they stay in America. Because if they are doing a cross-border law, cross-border adoption takes a while. First and foremost, you will have to do the whole thing in Nigeria. Exactly. You should have had to do, thank you, Jare, Diaspora Diva. They would have had to do, so what I see here, and this is me, from my own professional lens, what I see, in short, straight away when I read the case, when I was reading the paperwork and everything, the first thing I was like, okay, maybe there's a legal arrangement. Hello, Omoba. I thought, initially I even thought there was a legal arrangement. So the first thing I thought to myself was, okay, let me go and read it. Only for me to read, there is no legal arrangement. There's nothing that states that so it was all informal. So the fact that it's informal, this child had lived, and there is nothing, even the adopted parents, there is nothing in the legal document that showed how much time they spent with that child. There is nothing showing how much time they spent with that child. So it appears that their life in America was more important to them than their life with the child that they are adopting. And that, if that is the case, the fact that there's nothing showing that they spend time with that child, that even gives me a cringe as a professional. Because the question now is that child, okay, apart from maybe the phone, is that child aware of who they are? Because let's be honest, you live in America, you say you want to adopt a child in Nigeria. Do you have a bond with that child? No, Gem. There was no agreement. The whole thing is online. The court document is online. You can go and read it. There is nothing that shows a legal agreement between Timipre and Pastor and Mrs. Pender. There is nothing. And okay, let's even assume that they are sending money for the child. The question is, sending money to a child and caring for a child, they are two different things. They are not present in the life of that child. Timipre is the one who is present. She's the one who is caring for that child. And let's even agree that maybe they win the court order and they are able to take the child from her. They have to have what they call transition. They can't just whisk that child away from her straight away like that. It doesn't work like that. They are going to traumatize that child. And in the midst of all of this, where is the biological parent of that child? How did they relinquish their parental right and responsibility? Who are the biological? We are, apart from being African, everybody, we all have our biological parents. We have families. So where are the families? They changed the name. Where is the birth certificate? Where is the birth certificate, or where is the original birth certificate of this child? Because you can't just say a child. You know, for me, when they said the child is wandering on the street, I say, the child is wandering on the street, Bibawo. You know what? No, they are not the biological parents. Now, we don't know who the biological parents of this child is. Okay? The Pastor Pender and the wife claim that the child is a child that is wandering on the street. And what's the name? And the child was kept in a orphanage home, and they have adopted the child. Okay, a child that is in an orphanage home, let's even agree that the child is wandering. The child is wandering on the street, and the child ended up in an orphanage home. So the orphanage home, is it that they don't do a check on the children they bring into their care? Okay? In short, this case is way more than just adoption. There's a lot of red flags on this case. There's a lot of unethical thing that has been done around this case. That child is wandering. Orphanage home took the child. So the orphanage homes, do they not check? Okay, this child is, so every child that is wandering, is it that a case that every child that's wandering end up in orphanage home? Every child does not end up in orphanage home. So did they check that child before they did the adoption? That's why I was talking about the permanent order. Before they took the child, before they decide to adopt, who is that person that authorized the adoption? Where is the assessment of that adoption? And how did they, so the parental right and responsibility of the biological parents, what happened to the biological parents that child is now needing to be adopted? And this is where people get into trouble when they go and adopt a child and want to bring to the UK here. Because the first question is very quickly, what you notice very, very quickly is the biological parents, their right and responsibility was never explored. The identity of the biological parents was never explored. Okay. Ada, you said a lot of people abandon babies at the dumpster or at dumpsters of orphanage. So doing a background may not go beyond filing police report for. Okay, now filing police report is one thing. When a child goes through, what's the name? When a child is being dumped, that child, there's a record of where that child was born. You can see why adoption is complex, why the United Kingdom says no to adoption from Africa. Right? You can see why adoption is a no from Africa. Okay, a child is dropped, they went to go and file police report. So do the police not go to the hospital? Because over here, when a child, children are being dumped here. Honestly, trust me, United Kingdom is not, most Western countries, they are not different from what happens in Africa. Children are being dumped. The first thing they do is, when a child is being found, there was a child, I don't know whether it was early this year or last year at some point. A baby, somebody dumped a baby. They dumped a baby very close to a bin. I think down England or something. Who remember that story? And what they did straight away was, they started checking all the hospitals. They checked all these hospitals for record of birth. Who is it that had a baby that didn't take the baby home? And then very quickly they started doing all those checks. Yes, they can record it with police. They can do police report. But then police is not medical. It's even risky to adopt a child from orphanage home that you don't know their health history. You don't know the parents' health history. You have no knowledge of that child. You have no knowledge of that child. And fear self no cash you self. You come, you say you dey adopt am. And those of you that run orphanage and motherless baby, you kept a baby that you kept children that you have no record of their history. The lady that did the interview with Car Truth, honestly, I'm coming back with maybe tomorrow or so. We'll come and do that show. You need to hear what that lady said. But to be honest with you, there was nothing that she said that was new. Because like I said, I've done some cross-border adoption. I've investigated some cross-border adoption cases. And I tell you, honestly, it's not as black and white as you think it is. When you are doing a cross-border adoption, it's very, very complex. You can't just say you adopted a child. Because I was reading the paperwork and I was like, okay, where is the birth parent in all of this? There is no birth, there is no record, there is no mention of the birth parents of that child. Okay? They just said baby Panda. They just mentioned the name of the child and said Panda. So how did they change the name of that child? What was the name of that child at birth? There is nobody, even in the Western world, there is nobody that does not have a family. You can find some people are estranged from their family, but at least you will have a family. So let's even say they dump a baby by dumpster, they dump a baby by toilet. The question still remains, where are the extended family of that baby? Ada Ogbei, even here in the United Kingdom, in America, in different parts of the world, people give birth to babies at home. Don't let us talk as if Nigeria is so unique. People give birth to children at home. Now you are talking Ada Ogbei. So the whole orphanage and motherless baby business is a big concern, and that's why you see that United Kingdom says no to any form of adoption, any form of assisted fertility. Because over here, for you to say you want to adopt, in short, for a child to want to go through adopt, if you know the kind of rigorous screening around it, even you, the social worker that did the assessment, that agreed that the child should be adopted, that consent, that contributed to the assessment that led to the adoption of that child, trust me, you are heavily screened. You are heavily screened because adoption is a big deal. You are removing the parental right and responsibility of the birth parents, and there must be an assessment that informs it. How did they end up? Exactly. Because when in the court document, they keep listing the baby as a son name of the adopted parents. But the question is, what is the name? What is the original name of that child? What is the identity? Because basically that child does not have any other identity apart from the adopted identity. Diaspora diversity, that's the question we are asking. So it is not as simple. It's not as simple as they adopted, they did not adopt. There is more to it than that. And this is what I'm saying, that laws, you need to understand legality. It's not just as simple as it was immigration that we tell them. See, even the immigration angle is very, very minor. The question is, the biological parents, where are they? Why was kinship care never considered? Exactly. Ada Ogbeyi, thank you. So why is kinship care? Why can't that child? Why can't they locate the rest of the? We are Africans. Even over here, before adoption, adoption is the last result of any child being removed. Is the last result. And even with the adoption, if you want to even process adoption, you would evidence to the court that you have explored every member of the family and there is nobody suitable to care for that child. And you must state why they are not suitable. It's not just as simple as they are not. You will state it with the date. You must evidence what you are saying. Because if anything happen along the line, Ologbeni, you go gbenu see Mike. I am not saying the UK system is Alayonde. I am not saying the UK system is perfect. That's not what we are saying. What I'm saying is there is a process around everything. I am not here bashing. I'm not bashing the Nigerian system. I'm not saying the UK system. If you are used to my page, you know me. I don't sit down. Look, as much as Nigeria is jaga, they are what's the name? The law works. The UK, like I always say, this Western system is not a perfect system. The Western system is nowhere near perfect. That one I can tell you for free. And that's why I tell people when they say, the Western country is working, I'm like, hello, if you work in the system, you will know. So, for me, when I was reading this case, I was like, okay, you guys are talking about the adoption, custody and everything. But the question is, this baby, before that baby became your son name, before that child became adopted, what is the identity of that baby? What is then the person that also, because obviously they would have signed, the orphanage that signed up, they agreed to the adoption. What is the legal right that they have? What legal right did they have over in adopting? There's actually a case I was reading through when I was reading this case. There's currently a case going on in Nigeria now for surrogacy. It actually involved one of your big cream de la cream. It's a big scandal. Somebody was actually hinting me about the case, but me, I don't put people's private life out. They said they went to go and do whatever they went to go and do. There's questions around how they had their babies. There's loads of questions hanging. Because when that lady was pregnant, when that lady was claimed to be pregnant, she didn't look pregnant for her to have had multiple babies. Go and look at when they said she was on the set and acting movie. I mean, what they said she was doing. She doesn't look pregnant. For you to give birth to multiple babies, there is no way you will snap back that easily. So there's a lot going on. It's not as simple as yeah, I mean this case, I think this case, in my own opinion, I think it begins to open that conversation up, because surrogacy business, adoption, surrogacy, orphanage, and kinonkorukwe, motherless baby units, whatever business, those things, there is what you see outside is darker than what you see. If what you see outside, in short, what is behind the scene is darker than what you see outside. And I'm not saying it to scare you. So if you are in the diaspora and you are wanting to adopt, or you're wanting to do fertility, of course UK you can't do that. But if you are, I don't know, America, it seems America is still allowing it, but immigration law matters a lot. Before you think of fertility treatment, if you want to go and do it abroad or whatever, first and foremost, reach out to the country where you live in. Reach out to the professionals there. The process is a long process, but you are better being guided. These guys, I can tell you for free, I don't think the government in their well, the social welfare or the social workers in where they live, I don't think they are aware of the adoption, because if they were aware, they would have been able to guide them through. Because all the legal paperwork that they presented in court is all Nigerian-based paperwork. It's all Nigerian legal-based paperwork. There is nothing to identify to indicate that even American government is aware. And I can tell you for free, that child is not going to America soon. Because right now, should be American system, there's no room to even filing for anybody. You're not even able to file in for your spouse just now. So that means that child is even going to live longer with Timipre. She's going to live there longer. So before adoption is approved, authorities typically assess issues such as whether the child is genuinely available for adoption, which I've already covered. They check whether the consent has been properly obtained. And again, that's why I'm asking question. As were the birth parents, did they the birth parents, how did they relinquish their parental right and responsibility? What was the evidence of consent? Then another thing is the prospective adopted parents, are they suitable? Because like this guy now, this pastor and the wife, yes, they live abroad. How did they assess them as being suitable to care for that child? Is it a case that because they live abroad, then automatically they are deemed suitable? Have they had children in the past? Have they had a caring responsibility in the past? Who are the people that are meant to support them? And then another question here is, okay, they adopted a child and they were not able to care for the child because they live in America. So why didn't they consider their immediate family? Why consider a friend? You can see how this case is beginning to grow arms and legs. Then, is the adoption in the best interest of the child? Is it a case that they adopted the child? This child will be very better off going to America. What did they do? Do they have the jobs they are doing? Does that job allow them the time to care for this child? Has criminal record check been done on both of them? Without these checks, children could be at greater risk of exploitation, trafficking, or being placed in an unsafe environment. I don't know who mentioned. Remember the case? Remember the case that just happened? I can't remember the name of that baby now. Remember the case that happened in England with those two guys that adopted the baby? Remember? Yes, yeah, I get it that they have other children, but the question I'm asking, I'm just getting us to start asking questions. What was it about this child that was so special to them? Now, when a court agrees, when a court agrees, when the court will provide legal clarity, okay? The legal clarity, the court approves adoption, provide legal clarity about the child's parents. Obviously, telling us they are not the adopted parents, what they can do, da 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 da. You know, they will tell them their life, their right and responsibility. And of course, I don't know, because all the court focuses on is just the adoption. There is nothing to the context of the history of how that child was adopted. And of course, legality around adoption reduces future disputes, because some adopters could decide, I only just want to care for the child temporarily. You understand? So it's very now there's also the angle. Laws are required around adoption to ensure stability and ensure that the best interest of that child is fully reflected in all legal decisions being made. But if you look at this case, where is the best interest of that child? To me, I can't see it, because these parents, just so-called adopted parents, there's nothing to show in the court paperwork that they spend time with that child. They should give the child to the adoptive parent. To delay it is not the best interest of the child. Okay, now, but Kofo, I get where you're coming from, but I have a question. Now, in America, the American system is not even allowing you, it's not allowing anyone to file in for someone. You can't file in for your spouse, you can't file in for your children. So, how did they then connect with that child? Do you see where the technicality is? Now, we are talking about informal procedure and everything. You can see how the reason why formal procedure matters. For instance, it allows them to protect the child. Now, for instance, they've kept their child with Timipre now. There was no formality to it. There's no legal documentation. We don't know, apart from word of mouth, that they've both had with themselves. How long did they say that child was going to be for? Is Timipre able to have her own life? Is it a case that she had to adjust herself around it, around the life of the child? If that's the case, she also has a right to that child, because she's already formed a relationship and that child, if that child has a safe attachment with her, disrupting that will be very detrimental to her. Then the question that still remains is, okay, let's agree that child, they couldn't find the parents, they could not find the family, the ghost family that had that child. So is it a case that Pender also does not have family that child could have lived with? Isn't that child better living within the family of Pender than going to go and live with a friend? Do you see where I'm coming from? Then there's also the angle of jurisdiction. She has, remember, she sued them. She lives in Nigeria. Timipre lives in Nigeria. Pender and the husband and the wife, they live in America. So they are still bound to the American system, to the Nigerian system. They have filed a case against her in Abuja. But the case is going to go in Abuja. But the Abuja court is saying this needs to be done in Abia. So again, it comes back to understanding the legality. You can see how complex this is, and I can tell you, I don't think this case is going away soon. Now, in the midst of all of this, is the child the main focus? That's where the best interest of that child is? Are we looking at, have they looked at the safety of that child, emotional well-being of that child, stability, education, healthcare, long-term development of that child? If that child had been living with Timipre since COVID time, so that means that child has been living with her. That means that child has formed a safe attachment with that child. That means that child has formed a safe attachment with Timipre, sorry. So the question is, how much does Pender know that child? And who does the child identify Pender to be? Because if you look at the foster care system, the identity of that child is clearly known. The foster carer knows that they've got to keep the identity of that child very, very clear. Even when a child is placed with a kingship carer, over time, there's a need to start. I don't think so. I don't think so. Because all the conversation they are having is strictly based on they are adopted in Abia. I don't even think the American system know that they have done adoption yet. Because they are saying that they wanted to file, they can't file for the child as their, in short, they can't file for that child as their own child, like for America. And one thing that stood out for me, in the whole of this thing is, very quickly the name of that child was changed. So are they filing for that child as their biological child? Why was it so quick for them to change the identity of that child? Does that child have an adoption certificate, or is it that they went and printed a birth certificate for that child? Because that child should have and every adopted child has a birth certificate and an adoption certificate. Yes, I get it, but the identity of that child is constantly being linked to them. So where is the original identity of the child? Do you understand what I mean? Where is the original identity of that child? Where is the birth certificate? Because I don't know, but I'm assuming that there is no adoption certificate for that child. Because they were very quick to change the name of that child. You don't change the name of a child so suddenly. So the name of that child is now their son name. But where is the original identity of that child? They could have settled amicably. Even if they settled amicably, that means they didn't do things the right way. You can see very quickly child trafficking is already entering the story. Because if they succeeded in taking the child to America, did they take the child to America as their biological child? Even the filing that they are filing in America, did they file that filing as an adopted child? Let us be honest, we know as our people they do. We don't say they run stones. We know. Even the Abia state, how they take it, do wetin they do? How long did that adoption take? Did they do their due diligence? Did they do all the check that you're supposed to check? Asila afeshu labule. Now, if there's any lesson we all need to learn, you need to understand the legal implication before entering into entering into anything long-term caregiving arrangements. What is that legal? What's the legal implication of that? You need to seek appropriate legal advice when the law requires. In this case, it was just a case of my friend abeg help me care for my child, I dey go America, they no gree make we file in this thing. That one pass. The second one, we need to maintain proper documentation. And also we also need to understand say social media no be court of law. This is America in America. Hello, social media is not a court of law. This case, if there's anything that this case has done, it has opened serious debates around adoption, custody, and legal process. You can see the kind of questions we are asking ourselves now. Although our opinion dey different, there's no law that say we must all have the same opinion. But let's also understand, every child deserves stability, protection, and decision that prioritize their welfare. Now I dey ask now, Jem, because this one wey pastor carry pikin go give wey person carry, you adopt pikin, you carry am go give your friend. You no get family. Shebi dey say the pikin, dey say dey wander around the road. Na in orphanage pick am. You sef wey you adopt am, you no get family. Na the matter we still dey settle. Do people want to call in to share opinion? Let's rub mind. Do people want to call in? Please call in. Let's share opinion. Otherwise, I'm good to go. Yes, please call in. Please call in. No. Na the matter, when you hear na the matter we still dey settle. Na the serious matter we still dey settle. Because, okay, no problems. Na the matter we still dey settle. In the sense that if you look at all of this now, can of worm don open. Serious can of worm e don open now. There's a whole lot to the conversation. It's not just as simple. The case can't be like a Yoruba Nation case. Adoption is not as simple as it looks. So please, when you are doing cross-border adoption, dot your I's and cross your T's. In short, I always advise, don't do cross-border adoption. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Hello, sis.
Hey, how are you doing? You okay?
I'm fine. And you?
I remember watching, I think Adiola was talking about it, and I had a completely different position, because obviously the way that she presented it was a case of this particular lawyer, holding on to a child for no apparent reason. And the impression that Adiola gave, and I'm not saying she's wrong, was that, the parents in America are fighting for this child. But then listening to your own analysis, and also from my own personal experience, because I've had to fight for custody of my child. And I've mentioned before where there was a time where my ex-husband had the child for 2 years. And for me to get him back, it wasn't just the case just because I was the mother that it was automatically the case. They had to consider that my child had a bond with his father. And for me to have him back, they had to think about the emotional damage it would be to take him from his dad and bring him back to his father. And I know there was consideration. So what had to happen is that I had to slowly out. It was first of all a couple of hours, and then it was a whole day, then it was, weekends. So in
So
stages,
you're talking about contact, right?
Yes, I had to reintroduce myself back to my son before the judge made and before they, after all that, then he moved back to live with me. So what I'm trying to say is that it's not about the parents, it's not about the parents' feelings. And I think people need to understand that it's about the best interest of the child. Regardless of what you think about the lawyer and everything, she has been the primary and main caregiver of that child. According to Adiola, for 8 years. So you need to understand that that child has formed a bond with that lawyer. So as much as you can say give back to the child, are you even thinking about the child? The emotional turmoil it would be to take that child and give him back to parents. And from the impression I got from what you said, and Adiola, there has been no bonding at all. From what I know, it happened through COVID, and the parents had to go back, the adopted parents.
Yes, so Onibe, Onibe, so say I went and read the document. It's actually online. Because I took, this is obviously I'm a social worker, so I was more interested in the case. So I went and read it, and where I was looking for like 3 key areas. One, the background to the child. How did the child originate? How did they end up adopting? There is no history to how adoption came to be, other than that child was wandering on the road, and then they adopted from what's it called? From orphanage home. Okay. Then when they talk about when they then talk about the contact, if you go and look at the legal paperwork, when they talk about contact, there's nothing that evidence or highlights that these parents in America, the adopted parents in America, have any direct contact with this child.
I get it. I understand what you're saying, and that's what I'm saying. In that, if there hasn't been established any historic relationship, any time given to the child, the question is, as much as you don't like the lawyer has a history of being in the child's life for 8 years. There's no question, no argument. These parents in America, from what you said when you checked the papers, there hasn't been any historic evidence that they have, been in that child's life. Do they know the child's favorite food? This lawyer, as much as you have an issue or people have an issue with her, she knows everything about that child. And I keep saying to people, it's not about your feelings, it's not about your emotions, it's about the best interest of the child. In regard to my own case, as much as I kept screaming that I'm the mother, the judge made a decision that yes, you're the mother, but because of the best interest of the child, we have to slowly reintroduce you back into your son's life. And I had to accept that, because the judge doesn't care about my feelings, they care about what's in the best interest of the child. And what people need to understand is that like I said, you've opened up my eyes, because I thought it was a clear-cut case when Adiola was mentioning on her show that it was. But obviously, you've obviously explained yourself, and I get it. But my issue is, like you said, for me, my issue is that with all this fighting, no one's even thinking about the child. And I think the parents have to get to a stage where, if you're saying that it is the immigration process in America is getting harder and harder, then you have to ask yourself, what are you fighting for? And sometimes you have to sacrifice and make a decision that, maybe the child is better off with this lady because of the fact she's been there for that child for 8 years. I know for some parents they won't do it, but I say this as parents, you have to make sacrifices. And I believe that in any decision that you make as a parent, you should always think about the best interest of your child. In regards to what you said, in regards to the fact that this was a wandering child and this was a case where there could be question marks about the adoption process, from everything you said, it probably is the case. But why this could be like a normal thing in Nigeria. But I think the question is that when you have no real documentation, when you haven't established that you have some type of bonding or be in the child's life, when you go to court, what are you actually going to say?
You
How can
see,
you establish that you're going to be, how are you going to establish that you are there in the best interest of the child? In the UK, even as me as a mother, when I was going to call, they did due diligence. There was CAFCAS, you know what I'm talking about, sis. They had to investigate me as the mother. It wasn't an automatic right because I'm the biological mother. There are due diligence, there are suitability checks. Whether those checks have been done for these adoptive parents, we do not know. And I think it shouldn't be a given just because you want to adopt a child outside another country that you automatically should be able to adopt. We heard the story of one person commenting about the two guys and what happened in regard to them adopting. And I'm not bashing people that, regardless of their sexual orientation. What I'm saying is that we're talking about due diligence. I just personally think that it's a lesson for everybody that if you, like I said, I personally, like I said, wouldn't be comfortable giving a child to a friend. Like I said, why did it? Someone said it, and I think that's the Spora Diva said it, and I didn't really click. But why wouldn't you stay? If the immigration process was that tough, why would you go back to America? Wouldn't you stay and wait until the immigration process has gone through? If you, and someone asked a question, if it was your biological child, would you really leave that child in Nigeria and go back to the US? I'm not saying anything, but that's a question that I'm throwing out there. I think the problem for me is that they were too quick to go back to the US. You should have stayed with your child, and this would not have happened. And for you to now entrust a friend, I'm sorry, with a child, a young child, maybe a baby, from what I'm hearing, begs belief. And I think there's a lot of things they've done wrong in everything that they've done. And what I find interesting is that when I did research, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, from what I remember, the ruling has been in their favor every single time. And from what I heard, the lawyer has defied the court rulings to give the child back to the adoptive parents. And now, in context and with everything that is out there, I can understand why. Because at the end of the day, you can't just rip a child from someone that's all they know to give to strangers. And as much as they are quote unquote supposed to be the adoptive parents, this child doesn't know them from Adam.
Can I say something? Sorry, can I say something? The ruling has been in the favor of the adopted parents because the court is so focused on them being the adopted parents.
I agree.
Okay?
I agree.
And that's why Timipre Wolo is saying that's why she's coming from the angle of custody, because the court is very focused on they have legal right and responsibility over the child. But what the court is not looking at, because when I looked at it, I guess I had my social worker's hat on me, reading through the paperwork. And what I didn't see from everything in the court, but again, I guess it's the African Child Charter that they use in Africa. So if the African Child Charter obviously sees the adult more as a person of responsibility, more as a person of right over the child, unlike here where the right of the child supersedes all of that.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. I mean, like I said, in my case, I don't want to go on too long, but I'm trying to make a reference to parental responsibility. I have full parental responsibility over my child, but the court didn't care. Their focus was that we need to think about your child. He has bonded with your dad for over 2 years. That connection has been lost. Yes, he can come back to you, but we need to be assured with CAFCAS and all the due diligence suitability checks that the child is going to be safe in my care. And as much as people will be astounded that how can they say that she's a biological mother, I have to respect that, because I know at the end of the day, my feelings are not what is important. It is the safety and the interest of the child. And obviously we had to navigate that, and eventually I got my child back. But it was a hard process, and in every step of the way, I had to prove to the court that I was a suitable parent. And that's what you're supposed to do. And part of that was for me rebonding back with my child that I hadn't seen for over 2 years. And the thing is that I did the work. My question is to these adoptive parents, did they do the work? Have they been in that child's life?
No, they've not.
That's what I'm saying. They haven't. This is what I'm saying. They have not. I'm trying to. They haven't.
From what I can see, and that was why I decided to do the show, because when you listen to Adiola obviously is reporting from an angle of journalism, okay?
Yeah,
and which is fair enough.
Yeah.
But I guess because this is my bread and butter, you see what I mean?
Agree.
So I'm able to look at it beyond journalism. Because when I first listened to her, I was like, I listened to her. Then last week somebody actually sent me the paperwork, but of course I was very busy, caught up in other things. So, but when I read it, I was like, okay, hold on. Why is it a case that there's no way that they're even identifying the best interest? Then the fact that there's nothing to the context or the background of the child, other than she was found wandering, and then an orphanage. The orphanage was even the one that gave that gave up the adoption process, that triggered the adoption process. And then the question is, first and foremost, where are the biological parents of this child? Where are the extended families, paternal and maternal? Where are they? Then for a parental right and responsibility of these children, of that child, to be relegated to the adopted parents, how long was the process? And the reason why I'm asking this question is I have been involved in cross-border adoption, and I can tell you, adoption is so quick to do in Nigeria. Within 3 months, adoption can be sorted.
Of course, what does that tell you?
Meanwhile, but that's because their system is quite different. You see what I mean? And that was where I got to know that the orphanage homes, they do not, like the children's home over here, you still need the consent of the legal parent, of the biological parents. But unfortunately in Nigeria, so the children's home is like the adoption orphanage homes. They're like children's home in Nigeria, okay? But the difference there is the owner of the orphanage home decides what will happen to the children. Okay, even the homeless baby units, funny enough, they are under the women, what do they call them, women's women and children department. I can't remember what they are called. Women something is a department under women, whatever it is in Nigeria. Do you know that they don't even, the only thing they do, they just come and do like normal check once a year, and the check that they're checking is not even focused on the children, it's mainly around the building. You know how care commission will come and do like proper checks.
I know what they do.
So they don't do that. And that was why the UK government had to stop the whole process of adoption, surrogacy, because even surrogacy in Nigeria is not regulated. It's mainly angled from a business view.
From a monetary position, I totally get it. I think for me, now that I've got more context in terms of it, I know that if it was in the UK, there would be a big question mark about their suitability as parents, and the fact that they have never.
They won't even allow them adopt. Because
exactly, and that's what I'm saying.
Because the child, they don't even have a health history to that child. Where is the health history of this child? Where is it? The biological parent, why is it? How did they arrive that they are not suitable to care for their child? Because even a drug addict or someone that has mental, they still have to, you cannot automatically take it away. You can't take the parental right and responsibility from them automatically. So who authorized that?
I think there's a lot of unanswered questions that we're never going to really know. But I think the questions that obviously in this show that we've exposed shows to me that there's a lot of loopholes and a lot of gaps in this whole case, on this particular case. And for me, especially coming from the UK, where I know the way that CAS works in terms of the court social workers, know the way the court system works, know the way that most, the court system advocates for the child. The parents, sorry to say, do not matter. It's about the best interest of the child. I'm very uncomfortable in what I'm hearing in regards to the adoptive parents, and no shade to them. It's not me personally disliking them, but it's the case that if it was in the UK, those adoptive parents will be looked at in a way that they may not even get the child, because where have you been for the past 8 years? It is this particular lady, unless there's safeguarding issues, which we haven't heard of and we'll never know, that child would be with that lady in the UK, because as far as they're concerned, unless anyone can obviously raise any safeguarding issues, she's been the main caregiver. She's been the one that bonded with the child.
That child is fully integrated into our own family.
That's what I'm saying.
Which is even causing the complexity.
Yeah, exactly. She probably has, extended family that love her, care about her for 80 years. You can't break that. You can't just reach out and break that bond. This is what people don't understand. A child has emotional and psychological, framework. That child is bonded to this woman. You can't just take that child and just give it back to the adoptive parents. If it's a very sensitive issue. And I personally think that at the end of the day, if it happens here, where the best interest of the child is always paramount, I do not think the judge would make a decision that the child should go with the adoptive parents. I personally agree that it would go to the lawyer because she's been there. The question is, why would anybody on this platform, would you give your child to a friend? You wouldn't. That's red flag number one. You wouldn't.
Another thing, Honey Babe, is this. Now, okay, let's even agree that they adopted the child. So did they not have their own extended family? Why give the child to their friend? Why not give the child to an extended family to ensure that child bonds within their own family? And then then another thing is, why did they choose to do an informal arrangement, knowing that their child is an adopted child?
Exactly. I'm very much, and maybe it's the way I've been brought up, I do, everything to me, do things properly and formally. I really don't understand this slapdash backhand mentality. Why would someone's taking a whole human being, your friend is looking after that child. You didn't have any lawyer or any certification, any certified documents to say that this is a temporary situation. If it comes to going to court, you've syndicated any type of application to adopt the child, something like that. You don't have that type of documentation. Make it make sense. And I don't know why we keep doing that. And you should, in certain situations, you never do things informally. Informally. Am I saying it right? Sorry, my bad. Yeah. But you should always have a solicitor or a lawyer when it comes to certain situations, because if you don't, you have the situation that you have now. I personally, from what you said and the context you've given, don't think there was any type of formal adoption at all. I don't think there was. And what is scary to me is that you adopt a child that you haven't had a relationship with. Yeah. Did they even see the child, or did they do all the paperwork from the US, came one day and then went back the next day?
No, all they did was in Abia State. In short, as a matter of fact, the American, from the legal paperwork that is available online, it doesn't seem like America is even aware that they adopted a child. Because
bing, 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 red flag.
Because
red flag. Exactly.
The way that they change, because like over here in the UK, you can't just change the name of a child suddenly. Of course, you can adopt the child, but for you to, if you adopt a child and you want to change the name of the child, fair enough, you can change, because obviously for the passport and all whatnot. Even when you're applying for British passport, a child that is adopted, the British passport has a different kind of code. Okay, like children that
don't have to have the.
So they have the normal passport, but their passport has a different kind of code. The same thing too with a child. The same thing too with a child that is the same thing too with a surrogate child. And I only know this because of the job I do. That's why I know that there are different codes.
Sure. Can I say something? I remember when there was a time when I had my first son. He was sharing my surname. I put my surname, and there was a big issue between me and the dad. So I had to now change his name via Depot. And I remember when I was applying for his passport, they wanted the original birth certificate, the amended birth certificate, and the Depot. They wanted all of these things. So it's very important you have the documentation. I'm going to go, obviously, because I've talked a lot, and I don't know if someone else wants to ring in, but I think there's a lot of questions to be asked. And I think personally, kudos to the lawyer for looking after this child. It cost a lot of money to raise a child, especially when it was the case where you were told, "Oh, sis, can you look after this child for a couple of weeks," or whatever they told this lady, and the next thing you know, you're looking after this child for 80 years. So I think there should be some kind of appreciation for the fact that she didn't have to do it. And I think you need to appreciate the fact that she has looked after this child for 8 years. And I think, like I said to you, the judge is making a very biased judgment just based on the fact that they are the adoptive parents. They're not taking a lot of things into context, which is quite disappointing. But yeah, I'm going to end just on that. But thank you.
Oh, thanks so much. Thanks so much, sis.
Thank you. Take care.
Is there anyone that wants to call in? Because honestly, there's a whole lot to this story. It's not just as simple. Because when I read Adeola Fayehun's stuff, yes, it looks like, of course, she's reporting as a journalist. But if you're a social worker and you're reading if you're a social worker in children and family, and you actually go and read that court document, I mean, for me, I was cringing reading it because I was like, what is this? You know, it doesn't look like there is. I mean, I understand that in Africa, you know, we use the African Children's Charter. Okay, I understand that because in the African Children's Charter, that's where the difference is, because the best interest of the child is still very much enshrined in the parent's decision, in adult decision. But unfortunately, in the Western country, the best interest of a child stands alone. It stands alone. There's no if, there's no but about it. It stands alone. Like in Scotland now, we have an additional what's the name? An additional legislation, which is the promise, which is the government's commitment to children. So whether you are in care or you're not in care, the fact remains that the best interest of the child remains the paramount. It remains the center, and is always at the center of every decision that will be made. So it's a very interesting case. But if there's anything you should take away from here, if there's anything you should take away from this show, is that if you are looking to adopt, there's nothing wrong in you wanting to adopt. But if you are looking to adopt and you are abroad, maybe you are in the diaspora and you are looking to abroad. Obviously, UK is a no-no because they don't accept adoption from Africa anymore, and that's just because of the complexity of it. But if you are looking to adopt, please don't just get carried away looking at the child. Don't be focused on looking at the child. Go pay for the service of a lawyer, not just any kind of lawyer. Pay for the service of a lawyer that understands family law in the context of adoption. Some solicitors are specialists in this type of cases, because from all that I'm reading in the case, like I went online, like I said, I read it. All I'm reading, there is nothing highlighting. There's nothing highlighting the knowledge of the American system for a child that has been adopted, quote and unquote. And also, from my understanding, given the American immigration process, America has stopped all visa process just now coming from Nigeria. They have stopped. They are very, very stringent about it. So that child is not reuniting with the adoptive parent anytime soon, except if they are willing to come and stay in what's it called, to come and stay in Nigeria. And if they are coming to come and stay in Nigeria, so what relationship do they have? Who are they going to introduce themselves to be to that child who's known Timipre all her life? Is there a memory box that is going to be done? Is there a life story that is going to be done? You know, those are questions. So, please get yourself acquainted with the law. Know the law. Don't just get carried away. Even surrogacy. Because I see a lot of people running to Africa. It's easy, they will go and do it in Africa. Yes, it's okay, you go and do it in Africa, but there are also people who have had their babies through surrogacy in Africa that they are not able to bring that child. They are not able to bring their surrogate child to the country where they live. Because, like for instance, like in the UK now, the person who carries the child in the womb is the birth mother of that child. And that is what the law says. Even here in the UK, the surrogate mother is the registered birth mother of that child. Yes, Anton, that's true. The surrogate mother is the what's the name? In the UK, the surrogate mother is the birth mother of that child. That surrogate mother owns the parental right and responsibility. So I'm not, yes, I know fertility is a is a very, very sensitive topic. Okay? Funny enough, last week I did some videos. It's going to be, you see it, you start rolling out now. You start rolling out from tomorrow. Last week I did some videos. I did video on adoption, surrogacy. I think there are a couple of other things I did video on. Funny enough, I didn't even know. I was just talking about. Hello Jenny, how are you? I just did those videos, trying to educate our people, because again, most of these things come from, from my understanding about cases, like from working on cases and stuff like that. So please, I know surrogacy, I know fertility is a big thing. It doesn't matter whether you are African, whether you are black or white, fertility can be a very daunting and a very lonely journey. Okay? Infertility can, yeah. But having said that, please don't get carried away with, because a lot of people, when they want to go and do this surrogacy, they are very excited. Oh, I want to get pregnant. But you're not thinking about immigration. You're not thinking about the impact of immigration. You're not thinking about the impact of family law in the country you're going to. I remember in those days when India was reigning, when everybody was going to India to go and do surrogacy. Even here in the UK, people were traveling. From the UK, they would go over. Not just blacks, Caucasians were traveling. They were going to go and get babies. From India, they would go and do surrogacy. But the problem was, once the baby is born, everything is fine. Until the baby is born. Then the moment the baby is born, then they realize they can't even come to the UK. They can't come to the UK with their baby. Because there is immigration constraint. They don't own that baby. It doesn't matter how that baby was how that egg was transferred. They don't own the baby, because that baby did not biologically carry the baby in their womb. Okay? So there was a lot of challenges where people were abandoning their children in India. And it's a tough choice. So you can imagine going through the whole of that process. Even apart from the whole immigration, there was also a question about how the eggs were being inseminated. I actually did a research. I got a fund from, what's the name of this? There was this company. There was this people that, is it Robert, whatever, that funded me then in Edinburgh Uni. I got the funding and I wrote a research on that. Funny enough, it came at timely towards when we're doing our referendum. I remember going to India. I went to India. I was in India for 6 months. To the big, what's the name? To the big, what did they call it? The hospital. There was a gynecologist, then a very popular gynecologist, and it was amazing. The way you actually shop for surrogate mother was almost like, it was like something like eBay/dating website kind of scenario, where they kind of cloned it, and you shop for the shape and size and the figure of the surrogate mother. And by the time you get to India, they were building the hospitals like supermarket, like as if you're going to like fancy supermarkets. Downstairs, you wouldn't even know that you're in a hospital. Oh, you're new here. So the name of my channel is Aproko with Cruz. We talk about trending stories and in a very educative way, obviously with a witty presentation. So feel free to go through our the pages. I'm actually a social worker by training, so but I do a lot of educative. I talk about trending story, but obviously wanting to highlight it from a place of learning and reflection. Okay, so there's always lessons to be learned from what we do. So, like I said, please, there's a lot of learning. It's not just as simple as you want a baby. Please, let's pay attention. Please, let's pay attention. Let's get ourselves acquainted with the law. Okay? There's nothing like Olokpa I beg inside law. Let's get acquainted with the law, understand what the law says. If you're going to have a baby, you're going for adoption. Number one, you're going to go and collect a child you are going to adopt a child from an orphanage home. Where is the birth parent of that child? What if, let's even say for talking sake, everything came true, and then you succeeded in bringing the child here or to any country that you went to, that you live? What if that child has a particular illness, and the only way they can trace that illness is by looking at the gene of the biological parents, or by going through the health history of the biological parents? How do you explain that? And above all, if you are going to ever have any form of anybody has to care for your child, remember, now you can see why legal guardianship matters a lot here. You know, if they have legal guardianship in place, they will stipulate it. It might be costly. You might look at it, it's expensive. To go and meet a lawyer. Maybe they're trying to cut corners. Look at what it's costing them now. Yes, they might be winning the case, but the lady, the Timipre she also has a right. She has legal rights. And thank goodness she knows her rights. Hence the reason she's challenging it. Whether she's ever going to win the case, I don't know. But she's bonded with that child. Most likely that child calls her mommy. Most likely she knows everything about that child. The parents, the so-called adopted parents, maybe the only thing that unites them to that child is just the surname. Yeah, so cutting corners never end well. So honestly, it's and like I said, when I was listening to Adeola, somebody sent it to me yesterday, and I listened to it, I was like, hey, this thing is not as simple as this lady is saying it. Exactly. Alayande says, what if the child is handed over, an immigrant refused, immigrant or immigration refused to grant the child? Will they now get another third party to care for the child? You know, that's another thing we don't know. So, hey, it is what it is. But I hope we can all learn from this. Please let us draw our learning. Let's reflect. It's not as simple. Yeah, I get it. I know it was immigration you wanted to say. Thank you. You know, there's a lot of learning here. It's not just as simple. Especially if you have families at Nigeria or anywhere in the world, please help me care for my child. Please document it. Document is very, very important that you document it. This is actually interesting just because the lady is more in the case is a very interesting case. I mean, there are a lot of people. When I was reading it on Twitter, and you know, it's a very hot whatever on Twitter, and I was reading how people were discussing, even on the Adeola's page, people were talking. Yes, emotions. One thing we always need to understand: emotions does not have a place in the court in the legal system. Even if they now, let's even agree that they win the case, and then okay, they give them back the child. So they are in America. How are they looking to bond with the child? Who are they to this child? What are they going to tell the child that happened to Timipre? Why is that child suddenly not going to be in Timpre's care? There are a lot of questions. It's not just as simple as that. Are they going to? They are definitely going to re-traumatize the child. And again, was that child truly a wandering child? How did the what's the name? How did the orphanage get hold of that child in the first place? Please, we can do better, okay? Thank you, everybody. And before I go, they say make I dey advertise my business, and so they tell me. They don't give me advice. Make I dey advertise my business. Ungwano, for those of you who don't know, if you are new here, the child is not even in their care. The child is with the child is currently with Timipre. The child is not in there. They are still in America. They are still in America fighting for the child. That even speaks volume. So I want to advertise my business as Aproko Travels.
What if planning your dream holiday could be exciting instead of stressful? Imagine having one trusted travel expert helping you every step of the way. Welcome to Aproco Travel, where your journey begins with confidence. At Aproco Travel, we don't just book holidays, we create unforgettable experiences. Whether you're traveling for family, business, romance, adventure, or relaxation, we're here to make every journey seamless. From the vibrant streets of Cape Town to the shores of Zanzibar, explore the world with us, from sun-drenched beaches to wild adventures. From flights and hotels to breathtaking cruises and luxury escapes, we bring everything together in one trusted travel platform. Everything you need for your next trip is just a tap away, with guaranteed best rates and easy booking. Need help planning? Our AI travel assistant and dedicated support team are always ready to guide you. Get instant recommendations and 24/7 customer support, ensuring your trip goes perfectly from start to finish. Whether you're celebrating a honeymoon, planning a family getaway, or booking a group holiday, or treating yourself to a once-in-a-lifetime luxury escape on a private yacht, Aproco Travel helps turn your dream into reality, with personalized service tailored specifically to you. We believe travel should be simple, transparent, and unforgettable. Every inquiry receives personal attention, helping you find travel options that match your plans and budget so you can focus on the memories. Because at the end of the day, your journey matters to us. The world is waiting, and your next adventure starts today. Join Aproco Travel and discover travel made simple. Contact us now and let's plan together.
Thank you. So that's my advert for my travel business. And yeah, if you ever want to travel, strictly leisure, I don't do visa. And please, for those who keep contacting me, somebody, I think about 2 other people again, contact me. They want to travel abroad. They are looking, can I help them get visa? No, I don't do visa for anybody. Please, I do not do visa for anybody. I am begging you. You see, this is how they scam you guys. When you go and be, I have been screaming, I don't do visa for anybody. I am not home office. I am not immigration officer. Jem, you said the child should be taken away from Timipre too. Well, I don't think so, because from the angle of best interest, there's no reason, except there's a safeguarding concern. There's no reason why that child should be taken away. Oh, Holy Mary. Hello, Sister Aproko. Thank you for all the information. I was going to adopt my niece from Nigeria because my sister is very sick and anything can happen. What do I do, please? So it depends on where you are. If you are in the UK, UK does not accept adoption from African countries anymore because of the complexity and the difference in the difference between the African Charter and the UNCRC here. They don't accept it. If you're in the UK, the answer is not going to work through. However, instead of you adopting, you can either do Holy Mary. Instead of you adopting, you could ask your sister that you could speak to your sister and both of you go and get legal guardianship in place, because legal guardianship allows you to care for the child. Okay, it gives you the capacity to care for the child. So if you and your sister go to a family lawyer and put legal guardianship in place, and that way your sister legally instructs you to care for the child. Okay, Holy Mary. So hope I've answered your question. Otherwise, just reach out to me on through the WhatsApp and yeah. But legal guardianship is what you want to put in place. Because legal guardianship gives you the full authority to care for the child, your sister's child. Okay? My people, it was nice doing business with everybody. Thank you all. Oh, you're welcome. You're most welcome. thank you all for joining me and for listening. I don't know. I can't promise I will come tomorrow. I cannot promise. But either way, you will shout. If I'm free, I will come. Oh, thank you. The Law Society has all the specialists and legal professionals for specific cases. That's true. That's if they are here in the UK, right? If they are here in the UK, definitely. But if they are not here in the UK, whatever country they are in. But it's not even, I think adoption is always an extreme thing. For all you care, your sister might not even want you to adopt a child. Okay? He might not want you to adopt a child. I think what you want to do first and foremost is you and your sister explore legal guardianship. Because the fact that your sister is sick, is it a case that she's not going to survive it? If it's a long-term illness that you already know the outcome, or you already know what the outcome would be. But either way, adoption is a very extreme angle of it. I think the first thing you want to do legally is to get legal guardianship in place, and it's very important that you and your sister put that in place as soon as possible, because then your sister will stipulate that clearly. Okay, you can go and look at, I did video on legal guardianship. I did a very short video on legal guardianship. Go and look at it on my YouTube. It's a short video. I think it's about 1 minute plus. It breaks down what legal guardianship is. So go and look at it, and I think I've also done shows on it as well. So go and look at it. But legal guardianship is the first point of contact. It's the first legal access first, because adoption is very, very extreme. What if she's not wanting you to adopt a child? She might not, I don't know, she might not want you to adopt a child. And most times people just go for adoption because they think that is the right one to do. But adoption can be a very invasive thing legally. But if you go on the legal guardianship, because adoption means she doesn't have a right to a child. Let's say for whatever reason she recovers. Let's say for whatever reason she recovers. That means she signed up a parental right and responsibility to you. Okay, so what you want to do, like I said, Holy Mary, the first thing you want to do, irrespective of wherever you are, the first thing you want to do is get legal guardianship in place. Because with legal guardianship, that child, clearly, she might be your niece, but she also has a paternal side. Okay? So you always need, so legal guardianship still allows her that access. Okay? Legal guardianship still allows her, it allows that flexibility. Because for all you care, the father's family might not want her. They might not want her to be adopted. Because remember, except if your sister did not list her father as what's the name? Except if your sister did not list her father on the birth certificate. If your sister lists her father as on the birth certificate, you cannot solely go and adopt their child. Because that's another thing people don't understand. For you to be choosing, for you to have been identified to wanting to adopt, you also need to understand that you must be able to evidence to the court, particularly if that child is coming to the UK. Okay, you have to be able to evidence to the court the reason why you are the only one, because that child has both sides of the family, both maternal and paternal side. But legal guardianship even gives you a leeway. Adoption is not the right thing to do. The first thing to do first and foremost is legal guardianship, not adoption. You don't want to go in the route of adoption, because if you are not the birth mother of that child, the child in question. So if that child if the father is on the birth certificate, then whether he has been in the life of the child or not is listed on the birth certificate. And even if you want to do adoption, you're going to complicate things for yourself, because you need to evidence why his right and responsibility needs to be relegated. So long as his father is on the birth certificate, he has every right to make decision. And if anything happens to that child while that child is in your care, you are in serious, you trust me, you will be in serious mess. So legal guardianship actually protects you. So get your sister, you and your sister, make it easy for yourself. You and your sister go to, what's the name, get a lawyer and sort out legal guardianship. Okay, enter, understood. So the first thing first, go get legal guardianship. And because it's very important that your sister gets that in place for you and stipulates, because guardianship, there are different types of guardianship. So your sister needs to stipulate what type of legal guardianship she's giving to you. Because if that child has a father, exactly. If that child, and look at my small, look at the short video I did on legal guardianship, you can send that to her so that she also understands it. You understand? So because even if you have a legal guardianship, by going to a lawyer to go and sort that out, they also need to explore the father's right as well. Even in the UK, you can't travel with the consent, except if the man is not on the birth certificate. So long as both parents are on the birth certificate, you can't even apply for any legal document for that child without the other parents. All right. Thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful. Yeah. I understand, in town. Thanks so much. Thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful evening. And if you need to reach me on only Mary, if you need to reach me, just send a message to me on WhatsApp. I'm more than happy to help and guide. Okay? Remember, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just talking strictly from the angle of social work. Okay? So yeah, but we are always all here to learn. That's what it is. We're all here to learn, and that's why, the more we share information with ourselves and guide ourselves, the better. Okay? So hopefully, I hope that this, no worries. So I hope, well, we'll wait and see. I will be following this case. We'll wait and see what the outcome is. By the way, thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you. Bye.